Willie D Live.
What's up, family? Senator Ted Cruz from the great state of Texas wants you to stop attacking pedos. Yeah. Old Ted was doing one of his numbers. You know, he liked to lie, right? So he up there, having a hearing, just lying. And it came out, fam. He said the quiet part out loud. Yeah, he said we need to stop attacking pedophiles. Check it out.
From this hearing, the Democrat talking points have come out. Both Senator Padilla and Senator Booker spent a great deal of time talking about, quote, red states. There's a reason they were talking about red states, because unfortunately, most red states have blue cities, and that's where the crime is. If you want to look at in 2023, the large cities with the most homicides per 100,000 people, number one was New Orleans, Louisiana. Number two was Memphis, Tennessee. Number three was St. Louis City. Number four was Baltimore City. Number five was Washington, D.C. Democrat crime policies kill people. Soros DAs who let murderers out of jail kill people. When you don't prosecute violent criminals, innocent victims die.
Now, you heard what he just said. When you don't prosecute violent victims, innocent people die. Remember that as he goes forward, fam, because last I checked, pedophiles were violent criminals.
Right here in Washington, D.C., in 2012, murders in D.C. totaled fewer than 100. By 2023, murders had nearly tripled, 274 lives taken in a single year. These are the real-world consequences of Democrat crime policies that let murderers go. It is very simple cause and effect. If you release murderers onto the street, they will kill people, and they do it all across the country. And we need to understand these are not just numbers. Here are some of the faces behind those numbers. Edward Corestein, 19, brutally assaulted during a carjacking attempt in D.C. Eric Tarpinian Jakim, 21, a young congressional intern gunned down in the capital city. Honesty Cheadle, 3 years old, just a toddler, killed by stray gunfire. Sarah Lynn Milgram, 26, and Yaron Lachinsky, 30, Israeli embassy staffers newly in love on the verge of engagement, brutally murdered. Mike Gill, 56, a husband, father of 3. Former Trump administration official shot in cold blood during a D.C. carjacking rampage. These aren't just names. These are sons and daughters, husbands and wives, parents and grandchildren. Mrs. Cook, thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing the unbelievable pain and loss that you have endured through the loss of your grandson. I'm sorry that happened. Your grandson should have been protected. The city should have protected your grandson. He should still be alive. And tragically, this pattern keeps on happening. Now, Senator Booker also said we should have bipartisan agreement. I think that's a great idea. We should have bipartisan agreement. How about we all come together and say, let's stop murders? How about we all come together and say, let's stop rape? How about we all come together and say, let's stop attacking pedophiles? I want you to look at what happened when the National Guard went to D.C. Robbery fell.
We can stop right there, fam. We can stop right there. Notice Teddy didn't miss a beat. He didn't miss a beat. See, let's come together. We can stop attacking pedophiles. Like, and nobody said, hey, we can't be telling them what we do. Shh. Ain't nobody do nothing. He just went on like, let's stop attacking. They tell on themselves, fam. Let them talk long enough. He was fired up, but he didn't miss a beat. Shouldn't that be alarming to you? All you people out there who are constituents of Ted, the ones who go out there and vote for this do-nothing senator. That's not alarming to you? Let's talk about this thing called crime. You know, he talks about Democratic talking points, and some of what he says is true. Democrats got their talking points, just like Republicans got their talking points. And crime is one of the Republicans' biggest talking points. Well, all politicians like to talk crime. They want to talk about how they're tough on crime, but Republicans double down on tough on crime. No matter how much crime they're actually committing themselves and how much crime people in their party and their friends are committing, they like to appear. See, that's the key. You don't have to be tough on crime. You just have to appear to be tough on crime. So when they're blaming these blue states that are inside of red states, they miss the mark. And it's easy for people who's not really intellectually equipped to decipher what's going on, to be able to, to smell the BS. It's easy for them to get caught up in that. Yeah. Oh, and then he raises his voice. It sounds like he really means it. So if he's raising his voice and it sounds like he really means it, it must be real. Here's the thing, fam. Crime is not controlled by party labels. You hear me? Cities are dense. More people, more poverty. More poverty, more crime. Now, don't get that twisted, because there are places where there's not a lot of poverty and there's a lot of crime. It's just not violent crime. But you have these people in these banks, at these corporations, stealing billions every day. I'm talking stealing billions. But they'll have you focused on the people who do the violent crime, who stick a gun in somebody's face and rob them. And that's horrible. Don't get me wrong, their asses should die. But they'll have you focus on the people who grab stuff out of the store and take off running, a couple $100 worth of merchandise, and take off running. And then y'all be like, you need to die, you need to kill him. I don't need to die. That's petty. That's nonviolent crime, actually. And that the stuff that they're taking is insured, does not make it right, but it's insured merchandise. When they siphon millions and billions from these corporations and banks, that's a whole different level. They're taking actual people's money. That money is only insured up to a certain amount. And after that, you're on your own. So you got more people, more poverty concentration, more crime, more opportunity for crime. That's whether the mayor is a Democrat or a Republican. But here's what people like Ted won't tell you. Rural red counties often have per capita a greater rate of drug addiction, domestic violence, gun violence. But they'll never talk about that. And this is where I go in on the Democrats. The Democrats' messaging has been horrible for decades. They just got horrible messages. And which makes me think that, are they really working with the Republicans or something? It's like, their messaging is horrible. This is easy to do. This is simple math. As they attack the blue states and they brag about the red, as they attack the blue cities and brag about the red states that are inside of those blue cities, the Democrats should be breaking down the numbers in rural America and breaking down the reason why there's so many issues in the blue cities with the red state politicians. Blue cities usually produce a huge share of a red state's GOP and tax base. They're not going to tell you that part. So while they ride in the blue cities, they're also benefiting from the blue cities' tax base. They also inherit regional problems that the state does not solve. Housing shortages, underfunded schools, mental health gaps, reentry challenges. When the states fail to address those issues, then the cities that are within those states suffer. When the red state leadership fail to pass certain legislation that could benefit those cities, then those blue cities within their state, then those blue cities suffer. They're not going to tell you that. That's all the Democrats got to do is get on code, get on the messaging, and bring this up. I don't think I ever even heard a Democrat explain that before. I don't think I've ever heard it before. These cities do not exist independently. They're creatures of the state. The state law decides what the tax is going to be. They decide policing, they decide budgets, courts, bail rules, gun policy, all of that. The state decides that. That's why when you go into court and you're trying to file certain motions, or you're trying to get a certain license for this or that, it goes by state, not city. You got to get a state license, not a city license. But they're not going to tell you that. They're not going to tell you that. The Democrats' messaging is horrible. To let Ted Cruz say something like that and basically get away with it because he was only called out for saying, stop attacking pedophiles. Nobody has addressed this big lie that he's been telling or that he told, about crime statistics. If crime rises in a blue city inside of a red state, that's not proof of that liberals cannot govern. It's evidence that statewide policy is not working. At the end of the day, the state really runs the show. Just recently, a couple of years ago, Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, came into Texas, came into Houston and took over the school board, took over the whole HISD, the biggest school district in all of Houston. He came in and took it over. So if it ain't working, they can do something about it. The state can do something about it. So the question is, if it's not working, why didn't you do something about it before? Why did you let it go on for so long before you stepped in? Well, I submit to you that it had nothing to do with trying to straighten things out. It was an excuse to make a play on political power, to stack the deck with Republican leadership. It has nothing to do with trying to actually fix the problem with education in the city of Houston. But they're not going to tell you that. What say you, fam? Drop a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Ted, I'm watching you. Stop attacking pedophiles. Tell me you want without telling me you want. No more talk.